I think there was a lot of good things to take from Mac Jones' first outing here, but a lot of bad things as well. I know in the first, I think it was either the first or second quarter there, I texted you and producer Ben being like, that's a rookie mistake that he cannot do. And that was when he was getting sacked. He turned around and just looked to dump the ball in reverse, which anybody that knows American football, that is a lateral and it is considered a fumble and it's considered a live ball. Luckily, his teammates knew what was going on. They covered the ball. But I think one of the biggest things that Mac Jones has got to learn, and he's got to learn it quick, is when to be able to just say, hey, the play's over. I've got to take a sack here and hold on to the ball, and when to look to continue the play. So he's got to really learn that quick, and hopefully he's getting an earful about it from Bill Belichick, which you wouldn't doubt me. But on top of that, like I said, Damian Harris, that fumble was huge late in the game. And I always tell my running backs, as a running back, you are worth zero value if you can't hold on and protect the ball. So I think that's one of those things that the offense has got to clean up, and then they got to put more points on the board. But yet there was a lot of good things to take from this game, a lot of bad things, and obviously taking the loss was no good. But let's see what they do against the Jets in week 2.
Yeah, losing to a division opponent in a game that I think they're better than the Dolphins. Just watching that game, I think the Patriots have more talent than the Dolphins do this year. I don't think the same could have been said for last year, but this year I do, which is kind of why I'm optimistic. Mac Jones, like you mentioned, that fumble that he had, that really took them out of field goal range on that drive too. And it was a kind of just a weird play. I think he just lost where he was in the field, and then he just saw Jonnu Smith. So he just tried to dump it off and didn't realize Jonnu Smith was actually behind him on the play. I think he thought he just didn't know which direction he was in. And again, that's a rookie mistake, like you mentioned. But what I liked about Mac Jones was that he made that kind of crazy, almost embarrassing play, then comes right back, and it seemed like he got better as the game went along. And they also opened up the playbook a little bit more as the game went along, which is one of the reasons why I think the offense didn't put up as many points. The other thing, too, is, Mac Jones's fumble, even though they recovered it, took him out of field goal range. That's 3 points off the board.
Yep.
Ramondre Stevenson fumble gives it back to the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins scored on the next possession, too, if I remember, after recovering Stevenson's fumble. So there's possible points off the board there. And then you have Harris driving down the field, and then he fumbles at, the 11-yard line. So, that they were at least going to score 3, if not a touchdown. So, I think if you don't have 3 turnovers, let's say you have 1 or 2 turnovers and don't have 3, 1 game, I think, and then 2, you're putting up more points. But like I said before, too, I think the Patriots, in the first half especially, they're like, we do have a rookie quarterback here. I mean, as good as Mac Jones has done picking up the offense, he's still a rookie. This is still his game. And even as a Patriots fan, who I've been very impressed with Mac Jones over training camp and in the preseason, but he still hadn't played his first NFL game against a pretty good defense. This isn't, the best defense in the NFL, but I think it's the top 10 defense. You're talking about the Dolphins. And he played very well, especially later on in the second half. The other thing I like, too, was the second half is when they really started to get the tight ends involved. The 2 tight ends, they were the high-priced guys, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, I don't think, caught a pass in the first half. They got him and Jonnu Smith in a little bit more in the second half. You really saw the offense move well. They were converting third downs. I think they were like 11 for 16 on third down. So I actually took a lot of good things out of it. All the problems they had with the 3 turnovers or the 2 turnovers and the fumble by Mac that they got back. Like that, and then they had a ton of stupid penalties. I mean, Judon had a penalty and a punt return that cost them some yardage. I know one of the offensive linemen had a bad penalty where it was sort of like it was a block in the back, but the play was already by him, and it just like a lot of those penalties that are fixable, like this week, when you don't have enough talent, you can't fix that unless you go acquire more talent. But they have the talent, I think. The last thing I'll say, too, that I was very encouraged by was another high-priced free agent that they signed, and that's Nelson Agholor. I wasn't sure if he was worth the money that they spent, and we'll see throughout the season if that's the case. But if the first game's any indicator, they spent money the right way. He had 5 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown, and they didn't even throw the ball down the field that much. They didn't throw the deep ball that much, but he had some nice runs inside. Mac threw some nice passes to him, including the touchdown pass, even though he's wide open, but he put it right on the money. He's getting separation. It seems like Agholor is that deep threat, or at least that receiver on the outside that can get separation, has the speed, and the Patriots have needed that. So far, so good with him, and I am optimistic. They should have won against the Dolphins, but I'm optimistic about this team.
Yeah, no, I'm still optimistic. We got to see what happens here in week 2, and I think that'll show us a lot against a Jets team that is, pretty much, I don't know, not evenly matched, because I think the Patriots are much better. But I think that's one of those things when you're going up against a team that is not as good as you. That's the time you really need to just, get the work done and shine. So we'll see what they do in week 2. I think that will show us a lot and tell us a lot about this team. But I also think, turnovers are huge, especially in any game, whether any level, whether it be Pop Warner, high school, college, or the pros. If you turn the ball over that much, you're going to give the other team that many more opportunities to be able to put up points. And so I think that was really one of those things where it was a close game and turnovers ended up being a lot in the end. And it really hurt the Patriots, obviously, with that final turnover that pretty much ended the game for them. And they were definitely on a drive that was probably going to score a touchdown at that point. It felt like that, at least. The momentum was there. Mac Jones was doing a great job of leading that drive, which, especially late in the game, to have your rookie quarterback really take charge like that was a really good sight to see, because he led that drive and did everything he needed to do, and he wasn't the one who made the mistake. Damian Harris was, and I think obviously he's going to be paying for that going forward. As we all know, Bill Belichick doesn't like backs that put the ball on the ground. So I'm curious to see what happens with him in week 2 as well. But Xavier Howard for the Miami Dolphins played amazing. This is another high-paid guy on a good defense. He was the one that forced one of those fumbles, and then he also recovered the fumble as well. So I just had to highlight that as well, so people aren't saying we're complete homers, because I love Xavier Howard. I like the way he plays. But I definitely want to see the Pats bounce back here. And just quickly before we bounce on, I love that he was going to Jonnu Smith in the second half, but man, I wish he went to him more. I have him on my fantasy team. And I also feel like an idiot because I should have played Rob Gronkowski over Jonnu Smith. So there goes the homer play right there. But we'll have to see, like I said, what happens with the Jets in week 2. With the Patriots and the Jets in week 2. I'm sure we'll be covering it.
Folks, if you like this show, you're watching it right now on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. That's Comeback Sports on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, Comeback Sports. And then all the cut-ups that our awesome producer, Ben Kudo, puts together after the show, that'll all filter to your YouTube channel. You don't have to go search for it. It's just right there in your subscriptions.